Hey, welcome to the live tonight, guys. I'm Dr. Tammy. I'm so glad you're here. Officially, we don't start till 7:05, but I thought I'd just kind of see what you guys are doing and introduce myself a little if you're new here or if you were already accepted the invite and had reserved your spot to the live. Welcome. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Tammy, and I am a hormone guru. I call myself the hormone queen, self-acclaimed. I don't have a crown on, but I have been in practice almost 25 years, and I am all things hormones, mostly because I've had almost every hormone problem that you can name, and endometriosis, PCOS, fertility issues. And now I'm 55 and I'm a menopausal female, and I can absolutely understand almost every problem that every woman goes through. And so, what I really want to convey, my mission is that women understand that suffering starts about 5 to 10 years before menopause in most women. And that suffering is called perimenopause. And perimenopause is the time when our hormones are fluctuating, and it's like being in PMS all the time. And so, if you can relate to what PMS is, that's what perimenopause is. And you are extremely what we call estrogen dominant, which is the thing that causes you to have endometriosis, PCOS, all the things. Julie says yes. All the things that lead up to having hysterectomies and begging doctors to help you, begging doctors to listen to you. And estrogen and progesterone affect the brain. We've talked, and I've been posting the replays, but we're doing the 25 symptoms, main symptoms of menopause, like Advent calendar, counting down to Christmas. And tonight we are talking about bloating, but I really want to just say that we have to set the stage for what it is that we're talking about. So perimenopause is it, hi Elaine, how are you, honey? So perimenopause is the time when the suffering starts. Now, not everybody suffers, but I really truly believe that part of the suffering that is going on is because of the chemicals in our food and our environment, because I don't think that our mothers and grandmothers suffered like this. Or maybe they did, and maybe they begged for help, because I do have some women in their 80s who say that they have been begging their doctor for years for help. But as your hormones fluctuate and you move into estrogen dominance, it feels like PMS all the time. And I have a patient I just saw this week, and we did her hormones. And when we talked, we realized that her estrogen was higher than her progesterone. And that's what we call estrogen dominant. And she said, yes, I feel like I'm PMSing every single day. And so when we were able to look at that and bring her progesterone up to balance out her estrogen, because there's sort of the yin to the yang of each other, she felt completely different. It was like night and day, right? And so that is so important that women understand. And so as you move from perimenopause to menopause, one of the things that happens first is your progesterone bottoms out. And so when your progesterone bottoms out, you stop sleeping well. When you stop sleeping well, everything is awful. You know, even just one night, if you don't sleep well, how horrible that feels. So imagine feeling that all the time, right? And so then estrogen bottoms out. So here's the problem. And I always, always, always start with this so that women understand that menopause is not the problem. Okay, I want to repeat that again. Menopause is not the problem. Menopause, by definition, the medical definition in the textbook, is just 1 year without a period. That's it. But what causes that 1 year without a period is hormonal fluctuations and gradual decline. And then what's happening is your ovaries are literally running out of eggs, and you are predetermined genetically how many eggs you're going to have. You pop one out every month. If it gets fertilized, you have a baby. And if it doesn't, then you will have a finite number of eggs. At about the age of 50, when those eggs are gone, at about the age of 30, you're about down to half of your eggs. But by the time you're 50, you are out of eggs. And when you are out of eggs, your ovaries literally fail. They retire. they say goodbye. And when you check a menopausal female's hormones, after they have completely run out of eggs, their estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone levels will be non-detectable. I'll go out on a limb and say non-detectable because I see it all day long, every day in women who are not on hormone therapy. And what we are dealing with is ovarian failure. So menopause is not the thing that we're worried about. Now, perimenopause is an issue because you're having hormonal fluctuations, and there are treatments for that, and there are ways to balance it out. You check your levels, you can get that balanced out. But menopause is just a year without periods. What the problem is the ovarian failure. And that is a very strong term to say, ovarian failure, but that's exactly what it is. And if your thyroid was removed or your thyroid were to fail, nobody would ever say that you can't have thyroid hormone. But yet 100% of women will experience ovarian failure. So if you can, when you go out in the world, do your own research. Don't just take my word for it, but go and have a conversation with women. We have got to change the narrative. We've got to get the word out that you are not dealing with menopause when you're in your groups and you're with your friends and they're all saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't sleep. I feel crazy. I'm just miserable." We have to get them to understand that they are in ovarian failure. Menopause means absolutely nothing. I want to take that term out of our vocabulary because it is so attached to this thought that you just suck it up, buttercup, and you just deal with it. And it's also attached to the thought that doctors still gaslight women every single day and say that hormones cause cancer. And that is simply not true. So if you can tell your friends, this crazy lady's out there saying that it's not menopause that we should be worried about, it's ovarian failure, and that we should be treated for it, and that it's criminal that they're telling us that you don't need to be treated for it, or worse, you don't need testing for it because you're sick. You don't feel good, right? So wouldn't you test any other condition where they didn't feel good? I mean, it just totally makes sense, right? But when it comes to women and our suffering, it's not happening. And we're gaslighted and we're told, you're fine, or here's your sleeping pill, or here's your depression pill. And so it's one of the worst travesties that I think that we as human beings deal with. And so doctors have to change the narrative. And I do think it's getting better because I do have some colleagues that are doctors who will tell me that they're starting to change the narrative, but it's only because people like you are going out there and having the conversation and saying hormones don't cause cancer, because they simply don't. You would die without hormones in your body. Hormones regulate every single process in your body. And so they have to stop saying hormones cause cancer. They just absolutely do. Oh, vitamin D. I'll get to that in just a second. And so it's kind of like that blanket statement. So you're talking about vitamins like vitamin D. So when doctors say you don't need vitamins, that is the most ridiculous statement that a doctor could ever say. If a doctor ever says that to you, run, because they're idiots. And I am a medical doctor, right? And so I can tell you that 100% based on the science and the knowledge that I know about vitamins and minerals and nutrients. Now, what they're saying is you don't need supplements. But why don't they say that? Because that's actual truth. However, it's not the truth, because how are you possibly ever going to get all the nutrients that you need without supplementation, without taking supplements? When you go to the grocery store and you see that the lettuce is white, there's no green, there's no chlorophyll in there. Sorry, I was just reading something came up on a notification. Sorry, got distracted there. But you cannot possibly get the nutrients from the food supply that we have these days. And then take just a minute and put in the comments. This will be fun. Tell me the last time you had a vegetable. Somebody share with me the last time you had a vegetable. Today. Good, Julie. What did you have? 10 minutes ago. Good, Elaine. All right. You guys are my tribe. That's awesome. 3 days ago, green beans. 3 days ago, okay, steamed broccoli artichoke. Love it. So if you just had a vegetable, I'm not judging because I'll be honest, there are days I do my fruits and greens, and we have fruits and greens powder, and I can share links if you guys want to get that. But there are days that I cannot tell you, like, was it 2 or 3 days ago? I love Asian food because, like, I get my veggies in there, and we have a great little food truck down the street, and it's just so easy. But I get my, like I said, I get my fruits and greens, but that's supplementation, right? And so, how are you possibly, if like 3 days ago was the last day, you have to supplement. So my point being, if a doctor tells you that you don't need supplements, that came from some very, very weird narrative that happened. I don't even know. I don't even know how that got started. But, and it could be true that there was a time when we didn't need supplementation. Maybe we were getting everything from our food. And I think it's fascinating how we're supposed to turn over our crops like every 7 years. It's like a biblical thing. And like, we don't. So how are you supposed to get the nutrients from the bottom part of the soil if you just keep growing on topsoil? So that's always just been fascinating to me. So anyway, yes, you need supplementation. So somebody asked me about vitamin D, and vitamin D is fascinating because it is not a vitamin. Actually, when you think about vitamins, like essential vitamins that your body needs, vitamin D is actually a hormone. And that is a hormone that regulates, because hormones are just messengers that tell your body what to do. So vitamin D as a hormone actually helps create lots of different things, but it regulates your immune system. So, it's so crazy because I have to like just be almost relentless with the girls in my office. They're like in their 20s. And they're like, "Oh, I can't ever remember to take them." And I actually talked to a doctor friend today, and he said he goes around, because you can do a high dose, like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D weekly. And with some fat. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Julie said take it with fat. So yeah, it helps if you take it with a fatty meal for sure, because it actually stores in the fat, which is good. So you can actually, that's perfect timing for you to say that, because it stores in the fat. You can actually just take it once weekly and it will stay and accumulate. So you want that, which is also why you do have to be a little bit careful about taking too much. So I like to check the levels. 1,000 micrograms per day brought it from 7.4 to 40 in 1 year. Yeah. So vitamin D it affects the immune system. So like I was saying, the girls in my office, like I can't get them to like take their supplements. And so the doctor colleague that I was talking to today, he said he literally goes around the office and once a week starts handing out like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D. So I'm going to start doing that. So it is so important for the immune system. And the reason it's important for your immune system is because it is also a regulator of your white blood cells, which are your antibodies. And as a hormone, it actually signals the little carrier proteins. And I think of them, I used to say taxis, but now we say Uber, right? The little carrier protein signals that carry your testosterone into the cells. So you can have a total testosterone level that is, quote, normal, but a free testosterone level might be low because it's not getting into the cell. So here's a little nerdy science. I promise I'll be quick about this, but there's something called SHBG, or sex hormone binding globulin. And that SHBG regulates the amount of testosterone. It's like an Uber or a taxi, how much testosterone gets into the cell. And vitamin D actually regulates that. So I'll see it all the time. If a patient comes in with a low vitamin D and they'll have a low sex hormone binding globulin, they'll have a fairly decent total testosterone, but their free available testosterone will be very low and they'll be symptomatic. So testosterone is so important for so many different aspects, but especially in perimenopause and menopause, because what happens is you stop making muscle, which is super important, which I tell everybody. Strength training is so important in the perimenopause phase because you're starting to lose your testosterone. So make your muscle now, increase your protein intake, and make your muscle now. So how many people do strength training? Put that in the chat if you would. I'm fascinated how many people are really focusing on that right now. And then if you'll also tell me how much protein you try to get in a day. Is it good to take if you had a hysterectomy? I'm not sure, Katrina, what you're asking. Will you ask me that again, Katrina? Because I'm not sure. Are you talking about hormones with hysterectomy or you're talking about vitamin D? Yeah, so it's just fascinating to me how much protein we actually need and how much we actually get and to build muscle. So if you're going to increase your testosterone, which is wonderful because our program can totally help you get testosterone, which is like most doctors like, oh, you don't need testosterone. Katrina said the vitamin D for hormones. Absolutely. So you want whatever hormones you have around. So I'm hoping that if you've had a hysterectomy, you are on bioidentical hormones, but absolutely super important to get your vitamin D for your immune system, for your carrier proteins. And vitamin D has so many other functions too. So like seasonal affective disorder. We talked about depression the other night. Just added MCT oil and coconut for my thyroid weight and gut. Yeah, I love MCT oil, which is just a refined version of coconut oil. Great for memory problems. And if you have a family history of dementia, so important as well. My moderator just said to remind you guys that we have, okay, I'm going to take a little break and just remind you guys. We have kits. Our December special is a hormone kit that'll come straight to your home. You don't need a doctor, and it's only $119 this month. And so it's like the best gift you can ever give yourself or give someone else, a friend or sister or whoever you know that is suffering, because there are a lot of women suffering. And let our coaches talk to them even if they're scared, or tell them to come on. I'm here every night at 7:00. Tell them to come on and at least listen to this crazy lady, like try to, make some sense of all this. But, and then, if you're not on some sort of bioidenticals, perimenopause, if you're having PCOS, if you're having endometriosis, this is the time to get tested and find out what the heck is really going on. So, women need to stop suffering, and we got to get that message out. And the other thing is, if you like this content, please tap the screen. Like, it's kind of like annoying, like how many times you have to tap it to make a heart come up. But if you could send me some love, it just keeps me going, because I love to see how many of you guys are actually on here on the lives every night, because it's just like there's thousands of you that come on and support me and support the mission. It's not me. The mission is so much bigger than me, and we have to get women help, and we have to change the narrative, because they're really stuck because doctors are telling them that hormones cause cancer. And I get people all the time who comment to me and say, why are you saying that hormones cause cancer? And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, what hormone are you talking about? Because thyroid, does that cause cancer? Does insulin cause cancer? So if you're going to talk about female hormones causing cancer, tell me why you think that, because I will go head to head with anybody and we will dissect that truth out. And then a lot of times people will say, because my doctor said so. And I will blatantly say, your doctor's an idiot. So I'll tell your doctor to call me and we'll talk, because they're idiots. That is not true. Julie said I was told synthetic hormones cause cancer. Yes. Okay. I have to back this up just a little bit. I always say the difference between a synthetic hormone and a bioidentical hormone, what we call organic based, is the difference between a strawberry and a strawberry candy. A strawberry, your body knows what to do with. A bioidentical hormone, your body knows what to do with. So you would die without your hormones, right? So if you're taking a bioidentical hormone, which your body is not making anymore, it will actually protect you and could actually save your life and prevent cancer and prevent breast cancer and prevent uterine cancer and prevent Alzheimer's and all the things. Now, a synthetic hormone is a chemical that the powers that be decided to make, because if you tweak that chemical just a little bit, you can put a patent on it and sell it. And what's happening is women were being pushed synthetic hormones. They weren't considering the balance of the hormones. And so they were taking women in this study in 2002 that basically came out and said hormones just so stupid. Julie, what should I ask my doctor for? Okay, I'll come right back to that in just a minute. I'm going to finish this thought. And so they were taking women 5 to 15 years out from menopause and putting them on synthetic estrogen. And they weren't considering progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone, all the other things that your ovaries make. And so they were giving them high dose synthetic estrogen. And yes, that can cause problems, because if you have genetic receptors for certain kind of tumors in your breast, throwing that high dose synthetic estrogen can be a problem. But here's also the problem. Because they had ovarian failure for 5 to 15 years up until when they put women on the study, they didn't have the protective benefit. And if you look at who gets heart attacks, strokes, cancer, it's women usually who are 5 to 10 years out from menopause. And why is that? Because they're in ovarian failure and they don't have the protective effects of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. But most 30-year-old women, now it does happen. I'm not saying that younger women don't get cancer. They absolutely do. But it's more unlikely. You go from 1 in 200,000 chance of getting breast cancer when you're in your 30s to 1 in 8 chance after your 60s of breast cancer. So, and you know what else is nuts? When I was a kid, I lived in a small town in our town that had breast cancer, and nobody knew what it was. They were all like, cancer, what's that? I mean, it was just like, it was the buzz about, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And nowadays it's like everybody knows somebody that has cancer. So it's just nuts. So, Julie, when you ask, should you be on, the safest form of bioidentical hormones is the topical route. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road too, and it causes a lot of confusion. And I still have patients who've been my patients for years who come back and ask me this, because they'll go out in the world and they understand it, like when they're in front of me and it makes sense. And then I'm getting all nerdy and stuff. And then they go out there and then they come back and they're told, oh my gosh, you can't be on hormones, they cause cancer. Bioidentical. Okay, we'll come back to the bioidentical on your thyroid in just a minute. But so the topical is the best route. And there are still some bioidentical organic hormones, not synthetic, that you can get from pharmacies like Walgreens or Walmart, the big box pharmacies. I call them commercial pharmacies. And those are usually estradiol and progesterone, not progestins and not the ethyl estradiol. So those are what birth control pills are. They're high dose synthetic, which is so nuts because doctors prescribe high dose synthetics to 9-year-old girls. I mean, it's just like, and nobody's ever saying that causes cancer, which is nuts. Bioidentical estrogen, testosterone, she loves it. Yes. So you can do injectable. The reason we don't want to take any hormones ever, really, except I do progesterone capsules sometimes with my patients. Nuts. Yeah. The reason that you don't want specifically estrogen. Now, estrogen is, gosh, this is a whole conversation just with estrogen, right? Because that's the one that gets all the bad rap. And it's true. Estrogen is proliferative, meaning estrogen causes growth, which is great, but there are different kinds of estrogen. So if you're a 9-year-old girl trying to grow breasts, you want a certain kind of estrogen, estradiol patch. Yes. So a patch. Yes. And you can get bioidentical organic estradiol in a patch. So yes, that is bioidentical. So estrogen is good because it actually grows new brain connections, which is why we start to get Alzheimer's after we get into ovarian failure post-menopause. It's also the reason why our skin dries out. It's the reason we get incontinence, because all those vaginal tissues dry out, why painful intercourse, why we start having bladder infections, why we start getting our bones start crumbling. You need estrogen to make new cells. It's very important. That's why a 30-year-old is so vibrant and her skin is great, because she is making new cells, and we are not unless we take it. I tried creams, pills, patches, nothing works. Injections worked. Okay. Yeah, everybody's different. So you never know what's going to work for somebody, which is why you want to find a doctor who specializes in ovarian failure, because that's exactly what it is. You don't want a doctor who just says, yeah, I treat menopausal women. If they don't understand that what we are in is in ovarian failure, they don't know what they're doing. And I'm sorry, it's just really hard for a man to understand that. I'm not knocking male doctors, but if they've never had a period or they've never had, you know, a female menstrual cycle or a problem, it's it's they can't understand. And so they're not going to be motivated. And actually my motivation for understanding hormones was because I had all these problems, because as a traditionally trained doctor, I mean, it was just like, if I hadn't had to get outside the box for all this, I wouldn't have. I'll tell you, path of least resistance. And like doctors just, yeah, don't do it. In a small town. So if you can't find somebody, and pay out of pocket, you have to get ready to, because mainstream medicine does not recognize this, because big pharma wants pills and antidepressants and all the drugs that come with all the things, the joint pain, they'll put you on pain meds. I mean, it's just, they're treating symptoms and they're not treating the root cause, which is your ovarian failure. So if you're having problems finding anybody, the reason I come on here on TikTok every single night is to tell you guys and to get exposure to the biggest group. And please, if you find this information helpful, please share this with your friends, or just click on there and share it with somebody right now that needs to hear this, and tap on there, because if you send the hearts or the likes, it sends it out and it will bring more people in. TikTok will let people know that I'm here. And I'm also live streaming on Facebook and Instagram and all the other things too. But, this is where I answer my comments. So the reason I come on here is because I have a mission to get at least 50% of women on bioidentical hormones who are suffering. I mean, it is just absolutely nuts. So we have a program. It's called Hormone Bliss. And my moderator will put that link here in just a minute, but it's hormonebliss.com. And we do testing and treatment, counseling. And it's so important that you have somebody that will listen to you. Right? We are so not listened to. We are gaslighted. We are told you're crazy. We're told and doctors don't have time. I mean, they're seeing people like every 5 minutes, and they don't have time to hear all the 25, 50 symptoms of menopause: frozen shoulder, headaches, irregular bleeding, just all the things, urinary tract infections, all the things that we don't even know. Frozen shoulder. Asking for my painful left shoulder. Yeah, frozen shoulder is a big thing. Okay, so I'm skipping around, and I know because I just get so passionate about this, but our program, Hormone Bliss, you can, frozen shoulder, it's a thing. Okay, so I'll explain that here in just a second. So hormonebliss.com, go there, and you can actually order a test kit, and that's the first step, because we really want people to realize what's going on. And if you don't do that, you don't really know for sure. So we like you to see your levels, your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It's just a starting point. But then once you do that, one of our hormone experts will get on the phone with you and will tell you what's going on. And you answer this whole symptom questionnaire, because you don't just treat numbers, you treat symptoms. So it's so important that you work with people who will listen to you and adjust, because people tell me all the time, well, patches didn't work for me. I hear that in my practice all the time. I'm like, okay, well, we'll go with the topical cream. Or they'll say, well, that didn't work, and then we'll have to go with something else. So there's so many things that you can do, but you have to have somebody who knows. Like, it's funny, I used to joke in my practice that we are microdosing and shifting estrogen, progesterone, pregnant alone, DHEA levels all the time and stuff. So it's kind of nuts. Okay, so estradiol 30 and testosterone's 276. How bad is it? I'm 40. The context, I'm not sure why your testosterone's so high. Maybe pellets or something like that, or if you're on anything. And when you're 40 and you're still having menstrual cycles, it depends on where you are in your cycle, whether you're in the first part, we call that the follicular phase, or the luteal phase, which is the second. Julie said, where am I located? I'm in Arkansas. I'm in Bentonville, which is or Northwest Arkansas, which is home of Walmart. Northwest Arkansas, yeah, home of Walmart. Okay, so somebody asked me about frozen shoulder, and I know that we're also getting to the halfway point, and I try to keep my promises. I was going to talk to you guys tonight about bloating because that is huge. And oh, wow, the NWA too. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great place to live if you guys aren't familiar with it. It's beautiful. I live on the lake. It's amazing. Okay, so it is a small world. Yeah, my brother used to say it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. So, yeah, it's still kind of big, I guess. So let's talk about frozen shoulder, and then I promise I'll do bloating. Okay, so the reason women get frozen shoulder is, and this is crazy because nobody ever associates joint pain, frozen shoulders, strains in knees, and things like that with menopause, is because no one's accepting the fact that we are in ovarian failure, or in perimenopause, that we are starting to have fluctuating hormone levels. We're heading towards ovarian failure because we are running out of eggs. We are so low on eggs in our ovaries, right? Okay, so estrogen, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Estrogen actually helps to build new things. And that's why when you're in your 30s, you build new skin. That's why when you're in your 30s, you build new bone. In your 30s, you build new collagen matrix in your urethra, and you don't have, you're not drying up in all these other places. That's why you have new hair growth. And so estrogen is so important for creating blood vessels, which help your brain for brain fog. It creates blood vessels to every part of your, including the joint spaces. And so one of the reasons that frozen shoulder is so common is because estrogen has particular areas where it likes to migrate to, because those are areas that are overused a lot. So the shoulders and the, those are big bone areas. And so estrogen is migrating there because the larger bones are where it's trying to suck up. Now, that's kind of a tie into vitamin D a while ago. And so when you need more vitamin D and more calcium going into those areas, your body is upregulating more estrogen to help with that. So a frozen shoulder is a lack of blood supply to that area because you're inflamed, and progesterone is also an anti-inflammatory. So if your progesterone is declining, which is the first thing that goes in perimenopause, now you don't have anti-inflammation hormones, right? And so when you get that inflammation, it happens in the most dependent areas because you're using your shoulders all the time. You're using your hips all the time. So we see that inflammation just, there's so many connections with frozen shoulder. And so what is frozen shoulder? Basically, it just means that you're not getting blood supply. You're not getting can't we say that? Synovial fluid adequately in that joint. And so now that joint space is literally drying up, just like your skin dries up, just like your bones dry up. And so it's frozen shoulder. The number one treatment for frozen shoulder is to get your hormones balanced. I'm not kidding. I see it all the time. And anti-inflammatories, natural anti-inflammatories, one called Joint Ease. It's on our website. So if you want to go visit our website, to get to the Joint Ease, it's a little tricky. And I'm actually working with my team about getting you guys actually connected to the source. But all of my supplements are on the website Shop Hormone Bliss. And so if you want to go order the kit, you just go to hormonebliss.com and learn more about us. You go there. But if you want to order our supplements, it's at shophormonebliss.com. And okay. So anyway, let's talk. Did I get your questions answered? You guys go ahead and ask me again. I kind of skipped around a little bit there, and I got a notice there. Yeah. So frozen shoulder. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay. I promised I would talk about bloating. So having a frozen shoulder. I know it's a thing, right? Who knew? And who knew that headaches, and who knew that dry eye? Yeah. Dry eye is a really serious deal. yeah, it's kind of crazy because in my practice, of course, getting the hormones balanced, but we do something called PRP or PRF. And you can actually take your own blood, draw it down, spin it down, and then put it on the surface of the eye to help heal the eye as well. And one of the things that we find is liver health is super important with menopause, just being on this planet for a while. And okay, I was going to go back to this. We'll tie in estrogen. And the reason that you don't want to take estrogen by mouth, all the other hormones are pretty much okay because they're larger molecules when you're doing replacement therapy. But estrogen is a smaller molecule and it's a little bit harder for you to process through your liver. And so you can make metabolites of estrogen more problematic. And that's like a whole nother discussion about the different types of estrogen. But you really want to take estrogen in a topical route. Now back to the liver. The liver is processing your thyroid. The liver is processing your cholesterol that you need for lubrication of your brain and your nerves. And so your liver is also processing estrogen. So we really want to take that in the topical route. So, and that's one of the things we do in our program is we help people find the best route for them, but avoiding pills or taking something internally is really not the best way to go. So, okay. So we're going to talk about bloating. So are you guys suffering with bloating? Any issues there? Why don't you put that in the comments? I want to hear what your thoughts are, your concerns. Like how often do you experience it? Yes. Like every meal or just some meals? Have you identified certain foods that are causing it? So one of the things with bloating, and when I'm talking bloating, I'm talking that experience that you feel like instantly you're pregnant. Gluten sensitive. Yes, absolutely. Gluten will do it if you're sensitive to gluten. And not everybody is celiac disease. That's like a genetic thing. It's very, very serious. Um, linked to foods I'm sensitive to. Yeah, absolutely. So we do food sensitivity testing in my practice. And so we can identify foods inflammation, not just in your gut, but everywhere in your body. I've had so many stories of people with joint pain or headaches. And yeah, she said game changer. Absolutely. So that absolutely could cause bloating. Some people have not just dairy sensitivities, but also have lactose intolerance. So then they'll bloat like that too. So bloating, number one cause after menopause is or in ovarian failure, is because progesterone actually helps your digestion. Estrogen speeds up your digestion and progesterone slows it down. Now, this is the reason progesterone slows it down. The word progesterone means progestation, and gestation means pregnancy. And every woman knows that when you are pregnant, you are very prone to constipation. And that's because your progesterone levels. And also, pregnant women are also usually very sleepy because progesterone helps with sleep. So that's why we stop sleeping as well. But progesterone down your gut because you're trying to keep the nutrients in your body longer for the baby, right? So estrogen will speed the gut up. So if you're experiencing constipation, which you are more prone to have the bloating, that is an estrogen deficiency, and the constipation can actually be an imbalance between the estrogen and progesterone. And I see that all the time, especially when we do the home saliva test. I'll see women that their progesterone levels in ovarian failure will actually have a little bit more progesterone than estrogen because their adrenals are pumping a little bit out, and they'll have constipation. They'll have all sorts of other issues too. So, so bioidentical hormones are the way to go if you're having any of these symptoms that I'm describing. Now, it won't fix it overnight. And so what do you do until things really start balancing out? Bloating is just gas that is made in your digestive tract. And the way you know the difference between people say, like, I think I gained over 10 pounds overnight. The way you know that that's not really weight, that is bloating and gas, is because you literally feel pregnant. And I've had that happen. I mean, if you guys ever had that happen to you, you feel like you're 9 months pregnant. I mean, literally, you can like, it looks like you are having a baby. I mean, it is all. And so, yeah, if I eat a lot of things that are on my food sensitivity list, or if I eat some things like broccoli can make extra gas, or beans or things like that. But I mean, literally, just like a pasta meal or something, can make a lot of extra gas. So one of the things that you can do are digestive enzymes. I don't know if you've ever heard of those. And this is kind of interesting because there used to be something in the grocery store called Beano. And basically, what that is amylase, and it helps break down your sugar. Sorry. And so, yeah, they're telling me not to talk about their stuff. So anyway, I do have a product shop, so I know they want me to talk about those products. And I do have probiotics and a magnesium in my product shop. So if you want to go look, just click on the little product shop there. I've not sold anymore. I don't even know why, but you can still get enzymes. Water weight from inflammation. Yeah, absolutely. So, and you need progesterone is your body's natural anti-inflammatory. So you absolutely do need that anti-inflammatory because you are having that inflammation. Water goes to with inflammation because it actually is trying to pull the toxins out. And it's so fascinating to me that when you talk about metabolism, really drinking more water is the key because it's flushing out toxins. But you are kind of like you're born with all the eggs that you're ever going to have, and you them, and then you go into ovarian failure. You have all the fat cells that you're ever going to have, and it's genetically predetermined. Now, they're not the same ones when you were a baby than they are now. You have turnover of cells, but the same quantity. And if you go have liposuction and have them removed, the other ones just swell to fill the space, right? So I think it's fascinating that when you look at somebody, and I've learned to do this over the years, like where you gain weight is where your hormone imbalance is. And so if you have the cortisol belly, that's a cortisol imbalance. And hips, that's usually an estrogen imbalance because women have more estrogen receptors there, right? Uterine and having babies and all that. Or the breast, if you gain weight in the breast, I mean, the more estrogen receptors there. And if you gain weight all over and you sort of look, yeah, it is interesting. It's crazy. If you gain weight all over, you usually have a thyroid problem because that's a total metabolic shutdown. And if you gain weight all over and you look puffy and inflamed, usually that's a blood sugar issue like metabolic syndrome, and usually that's an insulin problem. And so it's just fascinating because your fat cells are either shrinking or swelling. It's not like you are gaining new fat cells. And when people talk about where does fat go when you burn it, time, and it was like they were going around, and it's kind of like Smarter Than a Fifth Grader. Have you guys seen that show? So anyway, they were like, do you know where fat goes when you burn it? And everybody's like, I don't know, like you urinate it out or you sweat it out. And the interesting thing, we're not really talking about weight loss tonight, but the interesting thing is that when we talk about burning fat, we are talking about the metabolic burn of dietary fat. We're not talking about adipose cells or fat cells. We're talking about dietary fat that we're burning. And so when you take food and oxygen in, you put out as CO2 and lose it as water. So we're talking about burning dietary fats. And calories are not a unit of mass. It's not like an apple is, like because it weighs this much, it has X amount of calories. Calories is a unit of energy. And one of the worst things, talk about the lies that we're told. I mean, it is just clown world. I mean, I think it's my job to like myth bust all of this stuff. But there was somebody, and this was like 30 years ago, and I can't remember her name, but she was talking about sort of that counting calorie system. But calories have like kind of evolved into this like unit of mass, like almost like weight, like what you're eating. But it is the worst thing that ever happened to us because when you go counting calories, a calorie in an apple, then a calorie, pound for pound or whatever in a Snickers bar. it's kind of like synthetic hormones and natural hormones. Your body doesn't know what to do with a bunch of sugar and crap, and your body knows what to do with an apple. So a calorie is very different. So you can't go by that. Gosh, so much more than calories. What do the calories include? Apple has a ton of natural sugars. Yeah, but when you're looking, that is true. But when you're looking at calories as a unit of burn or a unit of heat, that's where your hormones come in, because your thyroid actually is that hormone that regulates the thermostat in your body. That's why you get cold when that's out, which is why most women don't have hot flashes, because they have thyroid imbalance that follows your estrogen decline with ovarian failure. And so they're not, having hot flashes because they're cold, because their thyroid is having dysfunction. But natural sugars are much, there's a difference between sugar grams and carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are complex and they are in fiber. So yes, I mean, you can't be what they call it, a fruitarian. You cannot eat fruit all the time and, not have some issues with your blood sugar. So it's all about education and balance, right? But calorie for calorie, if you're talking about the apple and the fiber and the natural sugar there versus like the high fructose corn syrup and the things that are in candy or a Snickers bar or something like that, it's absolutely. And what's nuts? Here I go. Like I'm always like, it's clown world. The food industry, actually, all these different apples like Gala, I guess you say it, and these Fuji, and I mean, they bred these apples to have more sugar in it to make people. Our old Granny Smith, the natural sugars in that are much different than these Honey Crisps and things that they are breeding to have all this sugar. And the sugar in our food supply, here's something very interesting in the food supply as well, is that they add sugar to stuff till you buy more of that stuff. And it's called the bliss point. You can look that up. But they are watching our behavior and then just keep putting sugar in, and sugar lights up our brains. It is so addictive. And they say it's more addictive than cocaine because the dopamine light up that happens, they've looked at that on. So it's nuts how much sugar is in everything, right? So even if you're trying to count sugar grams, I guess what I'm saying is I would much rather you eat an apple and hopefully not like, 5 with Honeycrisp or something, because, they do have so much sugar in them. But yeah, I'd much rather you do that than, a Snickers bar or something like that, or junk food. So, okay, so a little bit more on gut, because I know we're coming down to the end of the hour here. And please share this if you guys are enjoying this. I don't know that you can share the replay. So if you have just a minute to share this with anybody that you think could benefit, you just click the little kind of side arrow thing, or is that the like? I don't even know how you share a video. It's just, it keeps coming up telling me to tell people to share. If you would show me some love, if you like what I'm talking about, just tap the screen and it gives a bunch of hearts there. So that kind of lets the algorithm know that I'm talking about cool stuff. So I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about bloat and liver. And I want to talk about liver because I just wrote a book. It's in the last stage of edit, but it's called The Menopause Metabolism Reset. And I'm so excited to release it. I think you guys are absolutely going to love it. It's pretty revolutionary because what I've done is I've taken the science of the liver, which is why when we're in ovarian failure, I want you guys to really protect your liver, because your metabolism is being set in your liver, and doing cleanses and taking the right stuff and being kind to your liver and supplements and things like that is super important as well. My liver hates me. You're going to have to tell me a little bit more why your liver hates you because I say that practice, I see people who literally their liver hates them. Maybe they've had hepatitis in the past, maybe, and don't ever reveal your private health information here, right? I mean, you guys don't, when I say something like that, you don't have to do that. Okay. So that was the other thing I was going to say, too much wine. So absolutely, things that are like poisons, like alcohol And don't get me wrong. I mean, some nights I'll probably have a glass of wine while I sit here and talk to you guys. But yeah, too much wine, too much alcohol absolutely can hurt the liver. And especially when you've had a few birthdays, I call it on this planet. I'm 55. I've had 55 birthdays. So I've had 55 years to do some damage to my liver. Plus the environment, pesticides, I mean, you name it. There's so much that contributes to liver problems. But the liver is part of your digestive tract. So bloating, you are going to experience more if your liver is not healthy. And how do you know if your liver is healthy? Well, there's several signs. And I do have a liver detox program. So you guys, any of this that's interesting to you, inbox me, direct message me, and I will give you links to all my free ebooks. Oh my gosh, just about every topic. I've got so much information. I will just like vomit information on you. Yes, genetics too. So, okay, yeah, I'm glad you said that. So through the liver actually predetermine how your liver processes. Let me go back to that just a second. Hi, Dr. Tammy. I'm trying to purchase the test kit and I'm having a hard time. Okay, did you go to hormonebliss.com? I'm always interested if there's a glitch or something, if there's a problem, because, constantly stuff sometimes are down. Hormonebliss.com. Okay. And then the link on order the kit. Not sure what's happening. Something with PayPal and I have to call them again. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check with my people. I don't think it's on our end, but I'll double check it. So I will do as the live is over. And if you're still having problems, direct message. Or you can also go to shop Hormone Bliss. And that is our e-commerce website. So you can go there and you can buy directly there. So that might be different. Usually it does link over to Shopify, but I'm not sure what's happening. But I will check on that. So give me at least 30 minutes after the live and I will check on that, make sure that everything's working. Okay. Christina said, a few people got back to me in 5 minutes 2 days ago. Great customer service. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because this program is new. It is my passion project. I'm like, this has to change. Women are suffering. They got to get on some bioidentical hormones. They got to get some testing because nobody will listen to them. So, oh, that makes me so excited. You cannot even know. So, yes, I have a great team that I love them and they're so passionate with me and they really know my heart and they really know my mission. So I'm so grateful that you had that good response and they are wonderful. Reach out. Our phone number's on the website. Oh, and that's another thing. If you still have problems ordering, our staff will be back in tomorrow and the phone number is on the website. So call them and they can get that taken care of. So we want to get you taken care of because you're precious, all precious, and I want you better. Okay. So milk thistle, ask me about milk. They don't want me to talk about supplements that I'm not supporting. It's a sales avenue. So, Monday night. Thank you. My moderators he's actually my fiance. He's absolutely amazing. He takes out all the crazy people that say weird stuff, but he keeps me on track. So thank you, honey. On Monday morning, if you haven't had a chance to order or direct message me and in TikTok and I'll help you. Milk thistle. If you drink, just taking milk thistle help your liver. Yeah. Okay. So liver enzymes always been higher than I like. So there's a couple different reasons. We mentioned genetics. Genetics can affect your liver methylation process. And I have a whole book. That's where I was going with that whole book on genetics and methylation. So if you want a copy of that, just let me know. I'll send you a free ebook copy. Definitely medicines, statins. I hate statins. If you're on a statin, definitely doctor and say, I've been listening to this crazy lady who says statins are bad. So anyway, that's for another night. Gout medicine, steroids. Yeah, everything can cause your liver enzymes to go up. I love it when you guys are answering other people's questions because I don't have time to respond to everything. And I'll try to grab it if I think, I'm always learning new things too. So you guys share with me because I love that because I learn new things from my patients all the time, but you guys interacting with each other, I love that. I wish I could hear you, but all we have is the comments. So yes, that's awesome. So if you have information to share, yes, absolutely. Um, but yeah, so many medications can affect the liver, and you need your liver functioning. It's it's an endocrine organ mostly. I mean, I know it's a digestive organ, and it's a um, oh 40 pounds. Yeah, that's probably menopause issues. So yeah, the metabolism, everything. But you have to have a healthy liver to process. So that's the whole key there, is that if your liver's not processing and you're taking bioidenticals and your liver still can't process them, that's a problem. So yeah, you will have weight gain, you'll have other things that are happening. So you got to get a healthy liver. So my menopause metabolism reset has smoothies and all sorts of supplements and things that will actually, well, glad you're here, have many so much information in there. I just can't even. So I know we're getting close to our hour here. I hate it. I love you guys so much. I love being here. Yeah, absolutely. There are so many different things. And I drink my tea every night with you guys, and I'll have this whole thing when I'm done because I start to get hoarse because I talk so much and I get so animated. Um, and if you guys want to inbox me, I'll tell you what kind of tea I drink for my liver. And you guys can put it in the chat if you think what my liver tea is. I'll give you a hint. It grows in the yard and it's yellow, and then it also has things on it. So see if you can guess. Put it in the comments. Okay. You got it. Yes, dandelion. Yes. Um, lungs collapsed due to hormones back in my 30s. Yes, dandelion root. I like the roasted. It's like delicious, kind of peanut tasting, but I love it. Oh, and somebody asked me about I want to address the hormones. If you had problems with hormones back then, what I'd ask is, were they synthetic high dose birth control? Because that is a problem, absolutely. And you're taking in the oral form. We're talking about the liver. We're trying to bypass the liver, and we're using organic bioidentical hormones. So, oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Elaine. So yeah, so there's so many you can do to support your liver. Methylated B vitamins, and that's a whole genetics conversation too, because methylation is a big process. And my fiance is saying it's 7:59 and I gotta go, but there's so many. So if you want more information, just direct message me and I'll send you more information. So anyway, yeah, top of the hour. So you put any or anything else in your tea? I don't. I don't need the extra sugar, but for allergies and stuff, what is it called? Local honey can be a thing. So if you that can be a thing, but I don't like the extra sugar because I usually drink my tea at night. So oh, one more thing. Okay, I know I got to go. I want to leave you with this. Somebody asked me about alcohol. So there is a whole detox regimen that I have. So if you do your dandelion after you drink, it will totally detox your liver, and you won't have the hangover in the morning. I mean, if you drink a lot, I'm not saying that. Don't come back on me and say I tried the dandelion tea, but I was like 300 sheets to the wind or something like that. Charcoal my liver detoxes as well. And so that can help. Oh, Walmart. Yeah, just like the roasted dandelion. I mean, you can go anywhere for that. I mean, just Kroger, whatever grocery store you have. But yeah, so charcoal tablets. My nephew was drinking a lot and came over to my house drunk, drunk on the couch. And so we gave him some charcoal tablets, and within 20 minutes, he was and normal. It was nuts. So yeah, lots of little tricks. So methylated B vitamins, dandelion, yeah, makes a big difference. So I'm not telling you to abuse your liver. I'm just saying take care of your liver if you're gonna do stuff. Very interesting. I'm a new follower for sure. Have a good night. Yay! I'm so glad you're here. Yay! 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 Thanks. Okay, I love you guys. I'm here every night at 7. So, oh, my cat's sneezing. Sorry. I'm here every night at 7, and I will share all the nerdy information. And please come with your information and share, because we all learn and grow together. And it's all about you. And I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. So, anyway, okay. Again, love you. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.